think we have heard it, a lot of things, and as the session started, AI alone is not enough. And we are living in an era where the speed is new scale, and thriving is new surviving, right? That's why the need of reimagining operating model is the key. And with how, with AI and data we can do, I think that's what we will discuss. Now, what we see on screen is there are two things that we deal with every day. That one is business model. What value I serve to my customer. That's the simplest way of putting business model. Operating model is about how do I serve, right? Now, these are the dimensions that you will see typically where I can keep my business model same, change operating model, or keep both same, right? Or reinvent both of them, right? See, largely continuous improvement, I think we all will agree that we every day kind of work on continuous improvement, and if we don't do, that is the least one, right? We'll all will cease to exist, right? And that's what we'll do minimum. But our topic of the day is enterprise reinvention. So when we say enterprise reinvention, is it a new term? The answer is no. Every era, we will see earlier automotive companies, the way they did mass manufacturing, then digital companies came. And in today's time with agentic AI, and data, leadership position is still open. That's what we should be optimistic about, right? And if we take example of, let's say, supply chains, right? Now you can take example of quick commerce, right? You're getting 10 minutes delivery at home, right? So what they've done, right? When they started 4 or 5 years back, no one was thinking they can challenge the big e-commerce giants in the supply chains, but they have done it. And with only one lever, they only thought convenience, which is the customer experience. They reimagined that, and behind that there were definitely data-led based. We have to open dark stores, where my inventory should be, how much it should be in certain dark stores, and how much it should be in some hubs, right? So that's what they were reimagined. So what we are looking at now is what does reinvented enterprise look like, right? Again, many of speakers have told about that, so I'll not go in detail. But largely, we are looking at AI agents, human and AI collaboration, and then multimodal data is anyway given. And the one most important thing is agentic mesh. Now, what agentic mesh means that how different agents together work to achieve one common goal. Supply chain wise, maybe making a faster delivery. If I take that as my pivot, that is my decision-making thing, I think things will fall in place. And I think we had Parveen from McKinsey earlier. So what we heard is that though everything being there, people have adopted AI agent, but most of the companies who have adopted AI agents, it's not changing the bottom line. So that's the issue that we are trying to solve when we say operating model change. And it has to be driven. When we say operating model, we are thinking about people, process, and system. When I say people, from the business model perspective, it has to be customer-centric. Whether I can make delivery fast, that will be my one goal. And when I say inside, it has to be employee-centric. How I make my people to work in the most optimal way, build process around that, and then system of choice has to be taken. And the drivers of that should be customer experience, your innovation, and innovation could be your supply chain innovation, sales innovation, product innovation, or any of such thing. So that we can take, and it has to be ultimately driven by KPIs. Unless, if you drive from KPI, I will say that, let's say in the supply chain example, I have to reduce my order cycle time, right? Then I'll do every bit of it, right, to make it happen by being people-centric, my customer-centric, and then changing the way, and you can think of other KPIs, right? So that's the kind of core idea we will move forward with. And what we have understood so far is now it's a very dynamic time. Disruption is there, and only agents will not help unless you really think around people, process, and your systems and bind them together to work in the best way. So with this, I'll give it to Vinay to kind of take us to how part and what are the challenges typically we face in this journey.
Hey, thank you, Sahil. So you all now learned about why and what. How do we really reimagine the operating model is what I'm going to touch upon. So every business will have 3 components which is fundamental and agnostic of industry. Those 3 components to drive any operating model change still remains to be people, process, and technology. But what fundamentally changes in reimagining the operating model is the 4 transformational layers that we want to share with you. One is the intelligent fabric intelligent fabric is the foundation and a rock bed of any transformation. This is exactly where you organize your enterprises from a perspective of preparing data which is ready for AI. And this starts with people. If you really look at the left bottom corner, you have people who are really empowered to build policies, ensure the right rules are in place, and apply the rules through establishing a single source of truth and make data ready from data quality perspective for the evolving use cases. So data governance, data quality, and empowerment of people through ownership is going to be the very critical factor. And you bring them in terms of democratizing data through data mesh architectures, event-driven architectures to make data accessible enterprise-wide. So that's about how do you really build this intelligent fabric as a foundation. Now the second transformation layer, which works hand in hand with the first, is agentic intelligence. Is exactly where you augment AI agents, LLMs, and new modalities in which you provide superior user experiences, employee experiences, as Sahil mentioned, through various chatbots and some of these new modalities. But what is important is, in the agentic intelligence, ensure you have an ability to connect them with your KPIs and outcomes. Your ability to showcase value to the business, and how do you craft your business cases beyond the pilots and POCs is something that you have to augment when you craft a compelling business case. Third is about adaptive process itself, in which you identify the friction points in your processes and eliminate them. And how do you identify them? You can take the modalities of complexity, risk, and value. So high risk, high value, you bring in a manual intervention. You have a process in which you have a guided workflow in which the people get empowered to make decisions. But you have a low risk, low complexity, high frequency task. Bring in the methods of automated workflow. So your people in the company don't have to get stuck with sequential workflow. That happens through the intelligent automation, workflow automation, process mining. These are all the new capabilities. But when you do this, you need to also prepare your people. That happens through having the collaborative platforms, could be Slack, could be Copilots. You also have a method in which you have an incentive in which you recognize their contribution, for which you need to have the KPIs in place. So ensure the first three layers also have a measurable outcomes defined in form of KPIs, and you ensure your people also contribute to those KPIs. So it all starts with people, which is a rock bed of this transformation. And when you have this people and process ready, you can augment them with the technology, which could be agentic AI or AI agents, but have your data foundation solid. And then you can able to reimagine the business process that you have with you. Go to the next slide. I'll just take a few seconds. But this is not as easy as I said. Every enterprise is going through these challenges in the transformational journey. The first and foremost is the ROI trap. We are not able to go beyond POCs, pilots, because we don't know how to really define a business value and how to measure them. The compliance regulations have to be addressed upfront, else companies are paying penalties and becoming non-compliant. Organizational complexity still exists. There is a federated governance. There is not enough empowerment of people to make quick decisions, because of which these initiatives are failing. And most importantly, you have legacy paradox, which means most of the companies have their data in silos, fragmented process. They're not able to democratize, to reinvent themselves. So if you want to really reimagine your business model, the quick commerce example that Sahil mentioned, you have to take into all these into account more from a transformational standpoint. Don't just start off with your initiatives with just a technology. But if we had to bring all these into play from an end-to-end perspective, putting people, process, technology from a strategic perspective, the question I want to leave all of you with is, are you ready to take on this challenge? What kind of approach would you start thinking about? Thank you.